I rewired my brain to focus. The true story that changed my life forever, motivation that will wake you up. Welcome to Fluency Stories, where real struggles become powerful transformations. Today, I want you to sit back, take a deep breath, and truly feel the story, because it's not just about focus, it's about finding yourself again. Maybe you've been feeling lost lately, unable to concentrate, your mind pulled in 1,000 directions, wondering where your spark went. Trust me, I've been there too. But what if I told you that you can rebuild your focus, not for a day, not for a week, but forever? This is the story of how I rewired my brain, how I turned my chaos into clarity, and how you can do the same. It was 2:47 a.m. The glow of my laptop screen lit up my face as I sat slouched in my chair, surrounded by empty coffee cups and crumpled papers. My project deadline was just hours away, but my mind was nowhere near my work. I had read the same line at least 20 times, and it still made no sense. My thoughts scattered like a flock of startled birds, one moment on my phone, the next on memories, then on fears of the future. The harder I tried to focus, the louder the chaos became inside my head. I felt broken. I leaned back and stared at the ceiling, whispering under my breath, "What's wrong with me? Why can't I stay focused for even 5 minutes?" I had once been the kind of person who could lose myself in a task for hours, reading, writing, learning. But now, I couldn't even hold a thought steady. My phone buzzed again. My heart jumped as if it were calling me, one more distraction disguised as urgency. I gave in, scrolling aimlessly through updates that didn't matter. The minutes turned to hours, and I sank deeper into guilt. That night, I fell asleep on my desk, my unfinished project glowing accusingly on the screen. The next morning, I woke to an email that shattered me completely. "Thank you for your submission," it said, "but we've decided to move forward with another candidate." I just sat there, staring at those words. It wasn't the rejection that hurt most. It was the realization that I had done it to myself. I had lost something deeper than a job opportunity. I had lost command over my own mind. My thoughts weren't mine anymore. My attention belonged to everything around me except me. That night, I stood by my window, staring at the city lights outside. I saw people walking with purpose, cars rushing somewhere, life moving. And there I was, stuck, distracted, and directionless. I whispered again, almost angrily, "What happened to me?" And then something clicked. I remembered a phrase my father used to say when I was younger, "If you don't control your mind, something else will." That line hit differently now. I realized that my mind had been hijacked, not by anyone, but by habits I didn't even notice forming. Every scroll, every notification, every half-finished task had trained my brain to crave chaos. That night, I promised myself something. I didn't just want to focus again. I wanted to rebuild my mind from scratch. The next morning, I started small. I turned off my phone for 1 hour after waking up. No music, no news, no notifications. Just silence. The first few days were unbearable. My brain screamed for stimulation. I would reach for my phone automatically, only to stop halfway and feel the anxiety build up. It was like quitting an addiction, and in many ways, it was. By day 3, something shifted. I began noticing things I hadn't seen before. The sound of birds, the warmth of sunlight on my face, the way the air felt when I breathed deeply. The world wasn't quiet, I had just been too distracted to hear it. In that silence, I began writing. Not for work. Not for anyone. Just for me. I wrote down how I felt, what I wanted, what I feared. And slowly I started to understand something I had ignored for years. My distraction wasn't just mental, it was emotional. I was running away from discomfort, from failure, from the fear of not being enough. Every time I couldn't focus, it wasn't because I was lazy. It was because I was scared. That realization changed everything. So I made a rule: I would face my discomfort head-on. I started meditating, not perfectly, not peacefully, but honestly. The first few attempts were chaos. My mind wandered every few seconds, and I'd get frustrated. But then I read something that gave me hope. Neuroscientists at Harvard found that even brief moments of mindfulness increase gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for focus and decision-making. That meant every time I brought my wandering mind back to the present, I was literally reshaping my brain. That single idea became my fuel. I started small, 5 minutes of silence a day. Then 10. Then 15. My thoughts still raced, but I began noticing the space between them, the calm, quiet space where clarity lived. And in that space, I began to remember who I was. After a few weeks, I noticed something miraculous. My attention span was growing. I could finally read a chapter of a book without stopping. I could work for an hour straight. For the first time in years, my thoughts weren't attacking me, they were guiding me. But I wanted to understand it deeper. So I dove into the science of focus. I learned that dopamine, the brain's motivation chemical, is what drives us toward rewards. Every time we check our phones or scroll for something new, we get tiny hits of dopamine. Over time, our brain becomes addicted to instant gratification and loses patience for long-term goals. That was me. So I decided to break that cycle. I deleted unnecessary apps, silenced notifications, and created what I called focus windows. 45 minutes of deep work followed by 10 minutes of rest. The first few sessions were rough, but slowly I found my rhythm. My brain started to crave that deep, uninterrupted flow. A month later, something unexpected happened. I was sitting at a cafe, working on a personal project, when a stranger sitting nearby looked over and said, "You look so focused. What's your secret?" I laughed because I didn't even have an answer. I hadn't realized how much I had changed until someone else noticed it. That night, I looked at myself in the mirror and smiled. For the first time in years, I recognized the person staring back, calm, centered, alive. But I wasn't done yet. I wanted to see how far I could go, how much I could rewire my brain to focus not just temporarily, but permanently. My journey into deep focus turned into something much bigger than I ever imagined. As weeks passed, I began designing my life around clarity. I replaced morning scrolling with journaling. I replaced random noise with intentional silence. And something incredible started happening. My creativity exploded. Ideas that used to take days to form began flowing naturally. I began seeing connections, insights, and inspiration in ordinary things. But the most emotional moment came one evening when my younger sister walked into my room crying. She said, "I can't focus. I try to study, but my mind just keeps running everywhere." I saw myself in her, the same anxiety, the same helplessness. I told her to sit beside me and I said, "Let's start with one breath." We sat in silence for a minute, just breathing. It was awkward at first, but slowly her breathing calmed. For the next few weeks, I taught her everything I'd learned: the art of focusing on one thing, the habit of writing her thoughts, the importance of small wins. We even created a ritual together. Before every study session, she'd whisper, "Just this page." That became our mantra, just this page. Within 2 months, she topped her class. The night she showed me her result card, tears filled her eyes. She hugged me and said, "You didn't just teach me how to focus, you taught me how to believe in myself again." That moment changed me, because that's when I realized focus isn't about discipline alone. It's about belief. When you start believing you can control your mind, you begin controlling your life. I began helping others too. Friends who felt scattered, colleagues who said they'd lost motivation. I told them what had worked for me, the focus ritual. It was simple but powerful. Every morning, 10 minutes of silence. Then one major task, no multitasking. Then reflect before bed. What captured my focus today? Within weeks, I saw transformations. People started smiling more, feeling calmer, thinking clearly. It was as if they'd all been underwater for years and were finally breathing again. But I knew focus is fragile. The world constantly tries to steal it through comparison, fear, and overstimulation. So I created a rule that changed my life forever. Protect your focus like it's sacred. That meant saying no more often. No to distractions. No to toxic people. No to meaningless tasks. I started realizing that every yes to noise is a no to purpose. And then came the real test, a moment that would determine if I had truly changed. I was invited for a major presentation, the kind that could shape my career. My old self would have panicked, scrolling, worrying, overthinking. But this time, I followed my focus ritual. I woke early, sat in silence, visualized success, and whispered to myself, "You're ready." When I walked into that room, my heart was calm. I spoke with clarity, confidence, and depth. Every word felt natural. When I finished, there was a long pause, then applause. I had done it. Later that day, the manager pulled me aside and said, "You seemed so centered, like nothing could shake you." I smiled, because he was right. Nothing could. Not anymore. That day, as I walked home, the city lights didn't blur anymore. I could see them clearly, every flicker, every shade. The world hadn't changed. My mind had. And now I want to tell you this. If you've lost your focus, your spark, your sense of direction, it's not gone forever. You can rebuild it. You can train your brain again. Science proves it and life confirms it. The key is consistency. Start small. Turn off notifications for 1 hour a day. Sit with yourself. Journal. Breathe. Work deeply on one thing. Stop running from boredom, embrace it. Because boredom is not emptiness, it's space. It's where clarity grows. Over time, your focus becomes unshakable. You start finishing what you start. You start feeling confident again. You stop needing motivation because you have momentum. I used to think focus was a skill. Now I know it's a lifestyle. It's the quiet power that turns dreams into plans and plans into reality. And if you're listening to this story right now, feeling like you've lost control of your mind, please believe me, you haven't. You've just been distracted by a world that profits from your attention. But you can take it back. Every second of stillness, every moment of silence, every time you resist distraction, you're winning that fight. Focus is not about working harder, it's about living clearer. When you master it, life feels slower, deeper, and fuller. You don't chase peace anymore, you live in it. So if this story touched something inside you, if you felt a spark, don't let it fade. Start today. Rebuild your focus, and watch how your entire life transforms. And before you go, I want to thank you for being here. If this story inspired you, please like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to Fluency Stories, where real struggles become stories of transformation. Because maybe the next story I tell could be yours.